This is the S88 MK3, the top-of-the-line Native Instruments keyboard, the first they've made with polyphonic aftertouch, and there's brand new software to go with it. This is a big deal. The previous model was one of the most popular MIDI controllers on the market, famous for its virtual instrument integration, so everyone, including me, was hoping for a lot with this new model. But did they do enough? Let's take a look at the features, the competition, and the one thing that sets this keyboard apart from the rest. Native Instruments sent me this keyboard for free, expecting me to replace my old S88, and I will. I've been using the previous model for a few years now as my daily keyboard, so yeah, I've got a lot to say about this new one. First and foremost, this is a MIDI controller that you use with your computer to play software-based virtual instruments, control your DAW, and you can connect this to hardware synths as well. It does not have internal sound, so this is not a standalone keyboard, and that was expected but kind of disappointing too. We're seeing a lot more standalone devices these days, including the Machine Plus from Native Instruments themselves. Granted, adding this standalone capability would have bumped up the price, but it would be nice to take Kontakt on the road without a computer someday. By the way, I'm using the Earthworks Ethos microphone today. They're sponsoring this video. I'll share more about this mic later in the video. Okay, polyphonic aftertouch is pretty exciting, so let's talk about the keybed first because it's the highlight of the S88 in particular. This is the biggest keyboard that Native Instruments makes, and the only one with 88 fully weighted hammer action keys. What does that mean? Well, basically, this feels more like a traditional piano. The keybed is by Fatar. Fatar is an Italian company that makes keybeds for keyboards like this. I grew up learning classical piano on many different types of pianos, and this one feels very close to a grand piano with very nice touch. If you've tried or if you own the previous model S88, it feels about the same compared to that. Now, I've reviewed several other hammer action keyboards. Compared to the Arturia Keylab 88, this is a bit lighter. The Keylab 88 has a heavy feel compared to most other MIDI controllers out there. Compared to the M Audio Hammer 88 Pro, the S88 MK3 is about the same in the lightness of keys. Velocity sensitivity on the S88 MK3 is on par with the previous model, feels very natural. Quick question, what's more important to you, DAW control or key feel? Comment below. So what's the deal with polyphonic aftertouch? Aftertouch modifies the sound when you apply pressure after pressing a key. And this new keyboard has polyphonic aftertouch. All sizes of the S-series keyboards, including the 49 and 61, have independent aftertouch on each key as you press. And this is a nice way to add some extra expression while you play. Of course, when I tried this, it worked well with some Native Instruments plugins, but I tested this with a non-Native Instruments plugin, Drift, which is included with Ableton Live. You can assign what the poly aftertouch does because it's sending MIDI information to your DAW. Pretty cool. I'm not sure how much I'd use this, but it is nice to have. What do you think? Now, if you're considering the S49 or 61, the keybed is different. Those are semi-weighted keys without hammer action. They feel very different from this keyboard. By the way, if you're new around here, I'm SanjayC. I have lots of videos about music production and the latest music gear on my channel. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'll be sure to make it worth your while. So when I first saw the S88 years ago, by far the thing I was most excited about was the screen. I want to show you the brand new screen and its features, but first, a quick overview of the layout, the buttons, knobs, and such. On the left, you've got a touch strip, which is now above the pitch and mod wheels, which helps avoid accidental touches. You can assign what this touch strip controls in the settings. Above that, we have fixed velocity, which will apply a consistent velocity or key press no matter how hard you press a key. And you have octave and semitone up and down. You've got some DAW controls next, then play assist, which I'll show you later in the video, a settings button, and some navigation buttons. There are contextual buttons above the screen that correspond to different things depending on what the screen shows, and 8 knobs at the bottom that are also contextual. Over on the right, pretty simple browser, plugin, DAW mode buttons, and a large encoder that does a lot. We'll go over everything. So let's talk about this screen. The old S88 had 2 color screens, but with this new model, they've ditched the double screen for a single wide screen. It's about the same width, but now a little taller, about an inch more. This new size and the UI actually improves readability. The screen really sets the S-Series apart from the cheaper Native Instruments keyboards and pretty much every other keyboard controller out there. It's really useful for navigating presets and modifying sounds, and it also does a great job at displaying your DAW's mixer. Pressing the DAW button gives you a view of your mixer tracks. Now, unfortunately, this is not a touch screen, which would have totally made sense in this form factor. Imagine swiping through presets, right? Anyway, this screen helps you focus on playing and making music instead of looking at your computer screen and controlling things with your mouse. I'm using Ableton, but this mixer control works the same for other compatible DAWs. You can adjust track levels, solo, mute. Pan is a little annoying to adjust compared to other keyboards. Now, from my experience, it takes a while to lose the habit of grabbing your mouse for everything, and I still catch myself using the mouse more than some of these controls. But if you're playing live, or if your controller is far away from your computer, this could be a workflow game changer. And this screen is better than the competition. M-Audio's screen is pretty small in comparison, low resolution, no color, but that's a cheaper keyboard compared to this. Arturia has a screen on their Keylab controllers, but they are not up to the same level as you see here. Keep in mind, though, that Arturia recently updated their Essential line of keyboards with better screens, so their premium keyboards will need to follow suit soon. I hope they come up with something that can compete with this keyboard. Let's explore virtual instrument control next, but before we do, a little info about the mic I'm using. This is the Ethos by Earthworks. I'm a big fan of Earthworks mics. Shout out to Earthworks for sponsoring this video. The Ethos is a broadcasting mic, but you can use it for vocal recording too. It has this pop filter included, this sleek design and mount. This thing is fully stainless steel, by the way, so it's built like a tank. It's sensitive to my voice, but doesn't pick up other noises in the room, which is great for this video, and really nice if you podcast. You'll hear this mic throughout this video, and in fact, I've used it in a previous video as well. I'll put links to this mic below the video if you want to learn more about it. Now, the screen really helps level up the S-Series usefulness when you load up Native Instruments software. And this is what I really love about Native Instruments keyboards, and it's even better on the Mark III. All Native Instruments keyboards work hand in hand with Native Instruments software, namely Komplete Kontrol and Kontakt, to give you a more efficient way to explore and modify sounds when you're composing. And the new integration is a big deal, especially the Kontakt integration. Check it out. You can now load Kontakt onto a track and you'll get browsing capabilities and quick control of the main parameters of that instrument. This is a much needed feature, and you didn't have this direct control with Kontakt before. So you can browse sounds, hear a little sample, filter by types, products, and more. When you find something you like, load it, and you get controls right here. You can also delve in deeper with the edit button or the arrow buttons to see other controls. Kontakt integration is a welcome addition for sure. Native Instruments' other software, Komplete Kontrol, takes things even further, giving you the play assist features and access to third-party instruments and effects. So load up Complete Control, and you have Native Instruments stuff, and also NKS compatible plugins from Output, Arturia, Yuhi. Yes, you can even load effects here. And this is what sets Native Instruments apart from the rest. The NKS standard that Native Instruments developed in 2015 allows other plugin developers to integrate with these keyboards as well, giving you nearly the same convenient access to controls. Use the encoder to cycle through presets from any NKS plugin and load them. I can't tell you how useful this is when trying to find a sound for a beat or song. This is the most convenient way to try different sounds, and the preset up and down buttons are useful as well. So, load a sound, and you've got parameter controls here. The knobs are touch sensitive, so you'll see what you're controlling before you even turn them. They've added an edit button here that lets you dive deeper and assigns more virtual controls to the knobs, but it does mean adding an extra press before you get to them. There's also the page back and forth buttons to navigate here. So the S-Series is pretty good at navigating and sculpting sounds. The only other keyboard that's this good is the Arturia Keylab with their own Analog Lab software. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Arturia will give you easy access to browse their own sounds and load them, similar to what the S-Series gives you, but Arturia's keyboards have something over this one. More physical controls. Arturia's Keylab keyboards have more ways to control virtual instruments, which really makes sense for Arturia because they are so synth heavy with their plugins. So much of the stuff you see on screen in Arturia plugins corresponds directly to physical controls. I wish Native Instruments had given us a bit more physical controls like faders or the touchscreen. Now, since we're in Complete Control, let's talk about Play Assist. Play Assist is a nice tool that works with the Complete Control software. It's great, but it's missing something too. But let's cover the good stuff first. Open Complete Control, load an instrument, and you'll get a bunch of useful tools. Scales, chords, arpeggiators. Scale mode will show you the scale with a light guide and mute notes that are not in the scale. Chord mode gives you a bunch of different chords to choose from, and they're again mapped to the light guides. I love the chord sets feature, which gives you complementary chords. This is really nice for coming up with chord progression ideas. I use it all the time. The ARP mode has lots of different options for creating arpeggios, including rate, swing, octave, gate, and more. Note that you can't use Play Assist in Kontakt. This only works with Complete Control. And that's a limitation. You need to have this keyboard connected to a computer and running the Complete Control software to access these features. They could have implemented it into the keyboard's hardware itself, which would allow you to use these tools with a hardware synth with no computer needed at all. Most other keyboards do it that way. Unfortunately, not on this one. That said, Native Instruments commented on a question under one of their videos and said that this keyboard is capable of on-device rendering, so such improvements are now possible as they look ahead. So that may be coming. We'll see. The light guide on this keyboard has been updated. Like I showed you, they're a nice tool to help you with chords, scales, but they're also really useful when loading some virtual instruments. I've loaded 40 Zone drums, and you'll see I have drum hits on the left and patterns to trigger on the right. And the light guide makes this very clear. The lights are also useful for Kontakt instruments like Picked Acoustic that treats these as key switches and lets you change the pattern that you're playing or add some additional sounds. Note that this feature works on the previous Mark II version of this keyboard as well. You can adjust settings for the light guide under the settings menu. You can adjust things like brightness and colors. So what about DAW control? The S88 Mark III has transport controls, play, record, stop, loop, metronome, and automation on and off here. Shift plus the metronome button lets you tap the tempo. And you've got quantize and undo, redo up here. Side note, these are newly designed buttons. Apparently the design is dustproof, meaning dust can't get under the button, but I find that the dust that collects is actually harder to clean off. Anyway, back to DAW control. You get the most needed controls for compatible DAWs like Ableton Live, Logic, FL Studio, Cubase, Pro Tools, Studio One, Bitwig, and Digital Performer. Their website says that more integrations are in development. The mixer integration is excellent because of this screen. I haven't seen another keyboard do it this well. Now, one thing this keyboard doesn't do as well as others is clip and scene triggering for Ableton Live. You can use the large encoder to scroll through tracks and scenes and press to trigger a clip. But that's far from the usefulness of keyboards that map their pads to clips and scenes, which, if you're an Ableton user, is a huge performance benefit. Novation's Launch Key and Artoria's Keylabs give you very nice clip and scene triggering. So this keyboard feels premium, more premium than most of the competition. The encoders and wheels are aluminum, things feel well made and solid. On the back, you've got USB-C, it's bus powered, and you have optional power if you need it. There are 4 pedal ports, and you can adjust what the pedals do in the keyboard settings. There's also a MIDI in and out for connecting to hardware synths. So I've mentioned some competing keyboards already, but let's take a closer look at some more differences. The screen on the Native Instruments S series is a definite winner, but it's not everything that makes a good MIDI controller. Faders are missing on the S series, and faders give you 2 things. First, more control. You just have more physical controls to do things like adjust virtual synth parameters and adjust your DAW's track volumes. Even though you can do this with the S-Series knobs, faders allow you to easily adjust multiple volumes at once with one hand. What else is missing? Drum pads. This is a famous omission on all Native Instruments keyboards, and given how much I like the pads on the Native Instruments machine, I wish they could have added them to the S-Series Mark III as well. Native Instruments got rid of the machine software integration on the new Mark III, which is a shame. I didn't use it that much, but when I did, I was really appreciated. Not sure what they're going to do with that change. So another thing I wish they could have done is map the plugins and parameters of Ableton stock plugins right here on this screen. I mean, the screen is here. We just need the plugins to show up. And this is another thing other keyboards do very well. Again, Novation and Arturia will show you the Ableton device and the parameter and the unit of measure that you're controlling right on their keyboard screens. It's so useful, but it's not on the S series. This is something they should be able to add later. I really hope they do. You can still manually map any MIDI controls from this keyboard, but it's not as efficient and elegant as a full DAW plugin integration. Now, there is another competitor, the S-Series Mark II, the previous version. It's going to give you a lot of the same control. You won't get the new layout and polyphonic aftertouch, but you will get that machine integration. If you can get a Mark II, I think you'll be really happy with what it offers as far as Native Instruments software integration and similarly nice screens. And you'll get what this keyboard really excels at, virtual instrument integration. And remember, that's with many third-party plugins as well. And you'll really love that integration if you're heavy into the Native Instruments plugin ecosystem and the Kontakt libraries. The updated light guides may be useful, but even if this keyboard didn't have them, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. Now let's talk price. The price has increased by $100 for each of the models. The S49 is $749 and the S61 is $849, and this one, the S88, is $1,249. Now, I'm not surprised, even budget MIDI keyboards are going up in price. You can get the Arturia Keylab 88 for $250 less than this, and the M-Audio Hammer 88 Pro for $500 less than this. I'll say this, if you're a synth enthusiast, definitely check out what Arturia has to offer. You'll get more physical controls for those synths. If all you want is 88 hammer action keys, some basic features, but no integration with software instruments, the M-Audio is a great keyboard and much cheaper. The S-Series Mark III keyboard may be missing a few features, but what it can do, it does exceptionally well. I think we're going to see Native Instruments further improve their software, and that should translate to more features on this keyboard as well. I love what this keyboard has to offer, including the screen, the controls, and the general Native Instruments workflow as I'm composing. If you're interested in buying the S88 or any other S-Series keyboard, I'll include links below. If you use my affiliate links, it helps out this channel. Thanks to Earthworks for sponsoring this video, and check out the Ethos mic in the links below. If you want to see my review of other 88 key keyboards available today, watch the video right here. Keep making the music you love. Bye.